Good morning, good day, and welcome to another video with me, Rufus Gazelle. And today is Sunday, the 4th of January, the penultimate day before I go back to work, to the slog that is the January blues and the normal routine after the Christmas festivities as that car alarm goes off just in front of me. But hey, it's always perfect timing. Today, I've decided to take you down to Poole Quay and have a look around the old town, some of the shops, and some history, perhaps. And the first thing that I come across is Guildhall Gallery, down here on the old Quay streets in Poole. And it's closed today, unfortunately, but there's some artworks on display. Can I have my ball back? This one is entitled. And then we have Tourist Trap, The Sheep Dip In. They all seem to be dog related or ball related, to do with dogs, like this one here, No Ball Games. And then this one on the floor entitled Night on the Tiles. Wow, some seriously good artwork in there. Being an artist myself, a cartoonist in fact, I do love seeing art shops on my travels, on my adventures. And man, there's some nice artwork in there, not gonna lie. Lush is heavily orientated here in Poole. It's where it was founded and it's where the main offices are located. So it's only right that we have a Lush shop, handmade cosmetics, and a Lush spa. And like I said, Lush is heavily associated with Poole, and they also make great bath bombs too. And right next door to Lush, we have the Boiler Room Records, which is something that I really love. Old LPs, artists like David Bowie, Tears for Fears, the Beatles, and Elvis in the background. And on this side, we have Oasis, heavily Oasis orientated here. Kate Bush over there, behind Oasis. More David Bowie. And then The Mistakes, anti-social media. We also have to apologise for yesterday's vlog down at the Ham Common Lookout. I got the audio all wrong yesterday. It was the first time in using this mic, and I stupidly set the audio to stereo, which meant it was only being heard through one ear and not two. Don't ask me why, but it comes with two mics. So if you set it to stereo, it activates both mics at the same time, hence stereo. So to be only using one mic, like I'm doing today, as a single vlogger, you have to set it to mono. And I just didn't know that. And I learnt the hard way. It's all teething problems, but we will get there in the end. Today's will be so much more better. And here, another gallery, Originals, which also does picture framing. And old Harry seems to be following us in every vlog lately. Only a few days ago, I was stood on the cliff top, on the edge, just there. Not long ago, in fact. Only last Wednesday. And here we have a young lady, a mannequin, with what looks like a top hat, if that's what you can call it, with graffiti all over her body, depicting the sights and the favourite locations of Poole, the Quay, and Mr. Whippy in the centre of the body, seagulls flying overhead. I can even hear them above my head right now. We have boats, we have dolphins, we have trains and crabs, and the RNI tattooed or graffitied on her arm. And next door to the Originals gallery, we have Riptide, a coffee house, Old Town Poole, since 2020, espresso plus records. And that has got me thinking down here in the old part of Poole, the Quay, the fact that I haven't had my coffee yet, my vanilla Von latte. And wow, that sun, what another beautiful day we have here in Dorset. Also down here on the old quay is the Poole Museum, which I've never ever been to in all my life, even though I've lived in the area for 15 years and I was only born 30 minutes down the road in Dorchester. I still haven't ventured into this museum. And what intrigues me the most is that it's very welcoming. It says, come on in, free entry, open daily. And if you look up there, bright, bold, yours. What a lovely statement. I will definitely have to check that museum out sometime in a future vlog. But for now, we're just going on a stroll, looking at the sights, enjoying the blue skies, this crisp, chilly morning, the last Sunday before we get back into that normal routine of life that we call work. And down here on the quayside itself, we have this large sculpture that we can walk up to, a viewing platform. This angle just doesn't do it justice. And if you haven't done already, bin your gum. You've been warned. We have some beautiful private yachts sailing past on the bay with Sunseeker over there in the background and all these pleasure craft, privately owned. No doubt there's some money in amongst these yachts right now that are sailing out into the bay around Brownsea Island. How I would love to be on one of those right now, today. I bet it's absolutely blissfully peaceful, relaxing. And like I said, when I was down at Old Harry Rocks, it's like a mill pond out there. The story of sea music. This sculpture is called Sea Music. If you didn't know that already, it is the only monumental public artwork anywhere in the world by the internationally renowned artist Sir Anthony Caro, OMCBE. It was given to Poole by the artist in 1991 and constructed by the local Poole businesses. And there's a little bit there about the artist if you wish to read. But right now we're going to go up these steps and head up to the top of that platform. Wow, couldn't have picked a better day for this at all. I'm so glad the mic is working better than what it was yesterday. Tried to sort the audio out as best I could. Tried to realign it so it would play in both ears, but failed on numerous occasions and just gave up and uploaded it as it was. But we move on. Life is about testing ourselves and just going with the flow. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going to accept that the audio wasn't great. And maybe one day we'll go back to Ham Common Lookout and redo it properly with better audio. I want to check those sculptures, the bird sculptures out again at some point, because apparently I was told that two of the birds that I covered, the one made out of metal and the other one perched upon the rock, had placards, and they were going to tell you in depth what that bird actually was, instead of guessing like I did yesterday. So that's something to think about and maybe go back one day and revisit it again, as the ferry right behind me, which I'm assuming has just come back from Brownsea Island, a tourist ferry. I haven't looked around yet, I'm not 100% sure, but it does look like a ferry that travels quite regularly to the Brownsea Island, which is just over there. And this coastal cruises is called Fortuna, if that is correct, taking tourists, people that come down here on holiday, on local trips around the bay, sightseeing. It possibly might even go out to Old Harry Rocks, I'm not too sure. Something that maybe one day I will go and do myself. And we also have someone rowing just ahead in front of Sunseeker, getting his routine fitness, his session, his rowing session in, probably in preparation for a race in the near future, as Fortuna is turning around. I don't think I've pronounced it right, but I've tried on several occasions right now. And that sun is glorious, just panning across in front of the boat here, the rays of this beautiful, beautiful sun up there in the sky. Hopefully I didn't blind you there, but I thought I'd just show you it. Fortuna. And here we have the sculpture, Sea Music, as the boat revs up behind me. And we have these benches that are sort of made up to look like an anchor point where you would tie a rope around to secure a boat moored up along the quayside here. That's very clever in what they've done there, turning it into a bench. But this is the sculpture that is entitled Sea Music. You can see the notes and the metalwork that has made this stand out along the quayside down here in Poole. I do apologise if I get anything wrong on my adventures, names, words, pronunciations, facts. I'm just going with the flow with these vlogs going into the future. I'm not always going to get it right, but hopefully 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty much spot on. And down here on the quay, we also have some Christmas decorations still on display. Not necessarily lit up anymore, as it is early morning. Not sure if it was switched off recently or if it's going to be switched on tonight. But nonetheless, I'm sure it looked very pretty. And in a few days, this will be removed as the festivities of Christmas of 2025 are now coming to the final end. It feels like we're all getting back into routines now, back into the daily slog. It's a shame. I do love Christmas. I do love the festivities and the build-up and the magic of Christmas. But there is a lot of pressure for certain people to make it really special, really good. Hard work for those cooking, hosting. But nonetheless, overall, it should be a happy time. But not for everybody. We have to remember that. We even have a few pubs down here on the quay. The Portsmouth Hoy, the Poole Arms, and in between, the Poole Gift Shop, entitled Grace House. Formerly John Carter Poole Limited, established 1887. The quay bar and restaurant used to be a Wetherspoons, but now it's Hall and Woodhouse, which, when it was a Wetherspoons, was quite nice, but it looks a little bit more upmarket now to what we had before. But this on this side, the water, the sun, sandbanks literally just there on the horizon where the chain ferry is over to Studland. Wow. There's a lot of people out today, just taking a brief stroll, getting some fresh air, spending the last few remaining hours with their relatives before they all head off home and back to their normal daily lives. We even have the Christmas tree still up. How much longer, we don't know. Located next to 2 more pubs here on the quay, the Jolly Sailor and the Lord Nelson. Also, we have another sculpture just down here in front of me of the founder of the Scouts, because it was formed here in Poole. A Robert Baden-Powell, I believe his name was. And they would go over to Brownsea Island, they would go camping, they would have campfires, they would learn skills to do with nature, going on adventures, climbing trees, and just learning natural skills that they could take on into their adult life. And here, just here, is Robert Baden-Powell's statue, and he's sat upon a tree stump, believe it or not. Here we go, the Robert Baden-Powell OM plaque, the first Baron of Gilwell and Freeman of the Borough of Poole, founder of the Scout movement here in Poole, where it all began. And here is the said sculpture of Robert Baden-Powell, like I said, sat upon a tree stump, trying to get my shadow out of the way so you can see, holding his stick, his cane, and he is looking very much towards Brownsea Island, just out there on the horizon, where he would have certainly a hand in all the skills that the young children learnt and the adventures that they went on. And there he is, looking over towards the island. Right, it's about time we try and find a coffee shop. I'm in desperate need of a hot drink, a hot beverage to warm these cockles inside. Hopefully we will go back to either the Riptide coffee house back in the old part of the quay, or we'll try and find somewhere down here. Who knows? We certainly have a fine collection of yachts, sailing ships, jet skis down there. I mean, look at this yacht here, this sailing vessel. Someone is grinding on that boat just over there, with more Sunseeker yachts in the distance. And not only that, I've just noticed that here it is the home of Pip Hare Ocean Racing down here at Poole Quay Boat Haven. But no matter where you go, I don't know how they do it, but they do. They manage to fit a Tesco Express in somewhere. Amongst all these buildings here on the quay, there has to be an Express. And I'm not disappointed today because they have one just here. But I'm choosing to go next door for my cup of coffee, where I think it will be that little bit better quality coffee bean. So there is the said Tesco Express looming from the archway with this lovely classic Mercedes parked right outside with a Porsche just behind. And next door to Tesco Express and the Dolphin Quays entrance, the flats above, we have the deli on the quay. And this is where I'll be getting my takeaway beverage. Let's head inside. I love a pint of Guinness, and they have Guinness chocolates in a can. Wow. And down here, pies, pastries, the sandwich fillings, so much choice. And then up here, look at the size of those sausage rolls and some quiches. That's better. I have my cup of joe, my hot beverage, the vanilla Von Latte, and man, I was dying for this. Sweet, milky, caffeinated goodness. And there's yet another Lush building here. They are everywhere here in Poole. Lush seems to be the biggest company, other than Sunseeker, located in this Poole area that I call my home. And this one is the Hair Lab. Don't think I've ever heard of Lush having a hair lab. I love their bath bombs. I love the fragrance that they produce and the colours. But they have an actual hair lab here in Poole, which I never ever knew about. And there's a full list of exactly what they do in there. Barbering, straight razor shaves, afro styling, henna hair colouring, you name it, they do it. They literally cover for everybody here down on the quay. Not only do they do the Hair Lab by Lush, they have a quay cafe, a bar and bistro, and the deli on the quay, which is where I purchased this coffee, where they sell Purbeck ice cream and pastries and quiches and pies and God knows what else. But this, I'm not gonna lie, just like the coffee down at Knoll Beach, is amazing. And look at this classic Mercedes parked up along the side. You can't get more classic than that. I think possibly George Harrison owned one of these back in the day. I'm not too sure, but I believe he did. Maybe not in this colour, but I swear he drove a Mercedes. Not too far similar to this. And if you don't know who George Harrison is, then where the hell have you been hiding? He was only the lead guitarist for the biggest rock band in the world, the Beatles. And just in case you need reminding, I just want to say these words. Bin your gum. And as I walk down the side of the Poole Museum, which we showed you earlier, the free entry, where you can go in and be welcomed, and looks fantastic. One day I will go there. I've come across an even older part of Poole that I missed. But luckily, I caught it right at the last minute. The Rope and Anchor pub. Down here in the oldest part of Poole, down here on the quay. Still with the Christmas decorations around the door, the main entrance, and the icicle lights appearing from the guttering above. Man, this really is an old part of Poole. And down at the bottom here we have another pub. I kid you not. There has to be, in the vicinity of where I am, possibly 200-300 metres in my vicinity, there must be at least 8 or 9 pubs. And here is another one, the King Charles. And like I said many times in this video, probably the 3rd time in this vlog, bin your gum. It's quite strict here in Poole about chewing gum. Thames Street is where the King Charles pub is located in Poole. Thames Street. There we go. I was correct. It was straight in front of me all this time. And I'm glad I walked around the museum, around Thames Street and the King Charles pub, because I found probably the oldest building here on the quay, or one of the oldest buildings here on the quay, and that's the Custom House. And I nearly walked straight past it without even realising. And it feels like they've got the gallows right out front, surrounded by umbrellas, tables, chairs, a place to eat where once death stood, or hung, to be precise. And here we have the Custom House and the gallows right in front of the entrance. And like I said, there are tables and chairs surrounding the gallows. I believe they're gallows. We'll take a look in a minute. And then just there to the right of the Custom House in the distance, you can see the sculpture Sea Music, which we saw earlier on. But what is this? Is this the gallows, or is this something else? So in fact, this isn't what I thought it was. Here is the plaque adorned on the beam itself. Pause it, have a little read. Took me a while to go through it to find out exactly what it was, but we will cover that in a minute. And over here we have another anchor with fairy lights adorned across the steels for Christmas, even though, like I said many times, Christmas has pretty much come off the end now. We are in January, and I believe it's time to move on, to get on with our lives. And yet again, this video pretty much exists solely because of these signs everywhere. How many times I've come across these signs now? It must be like the 5th or 6th one. But look at this beautiful architect here down on the quay. I'm going to show you in a minute, but we wanted to talk about the beam back there outside the Custom House. It wasn't the gallows, it wasn't surrounded by death that I thought it might be, considering there were seats around or surrounding the beam, the gallows, what I thought was the gallows, but in fact it's not. It was a way of weighing merchandise from the ships that came into the quay, so the custom could get the money, the right quota for the goods that they were bringing in, the current weight and the price, and that they had the exact taxes placed upon them, the bills, so they paid the fines or the correct tariffs at the time. And that's what the beam was for back then, was to weigh the merchandise, the goods, the contraband that sailed into the quay all those many years ago. And this is the architect that I was on about down here, just outside of the Poole Museum, or the outside of the Poole Museum, where all the goods and the contraband and the merchandise coming from the ships used to go through these large doors on the side. And apparently the actual main building of the Poole Museum has history of its own. During 1939 and 1948, I'm just looking up at the plaque now, this was known as the Airways House. And this building was part of the first operational headquarters of the BOC, have I pronounced that right? B-O-A-C. The BOC? I apologise, I'm not good with names. A landing craft, a landing flying boat, which these flying boats would leave Poole here for the US and the British Empire. The Poole flying boats. I'm going to show you the plaque. I'm not quite sure if I've said the name right, but it was captained by a man called Bill Locke. And here is the blue plaque that I was literally just reading from. Not too sure how you pronounce the boat, if that's actually the name of the flying boat, the Boac. I wanted to say Borac, but I think that was more Ali G, wasn't it, than an actual flying boat. So I'm going to pronounce it Boac. The Speedbird, 1939 to 1948. I could be completely wrong in the pronunciations. I do apologise, but there we go. And there is the building that we were just looking at. When I meant Boac or Borac, Sacha Baron Cohen is what I was going on about, the actor who played those characters, Ali G, Borac and all the rest. That's who I was trying to figure out in my mind who that person was. Sacha Baron Cohen. Have I pronounced that right? Probably not. Again, useless with names. You'll get used to it. And I just hope during all these little treasure troves that we come across along the way, all the walks, all the grave locations, filming locations, you guys will be joining me. I hope. I have to find a bin somewhere. This coffee was absolutely gorgeous, but I've been holding it now for the last 5-10 minutes and it is now empty. Unfortunately, so. Still, it was nice. And that reminds me, just over my shoulder there, I've just seen the Quay barbers. I do need to get a haircut. Starting to get a little bit long around the ears, and that's something I do need to book in the near future. But first, I have the dentist tomorrow. As always, a silver lining. If you think the dentist is a silver lining, but no doubt, like always, they will find a problem, a filling that needs filling. They always do. But first, a bin. I do like this motif, this graffiti, this absolutely glorious artwork they've done on the side of this building, just next to the main high street in Poole. Obviously the quay is back down that way. But this is very talented. And like I said earlier, I'm an artist myself, and I love to see other people's artwork and how talented they are. And here is a bin. Thank God for that. And we have yet another Christmas tree. How much longer? We do not know, but it's still here, sparkling away, even though in my eyes, Christmas has officially ended. And maybe a Scrooge, but yeah, it's January. And here we go again. I'm not keeping count, but if someone is watching right now, how many has this been? I don't know why, but BCP truly have a thing about chewing gum down here. You've got that sign there, and yet I've literally just turned around and there's another one here. I should title this video exactly what it states on that sign, word for word. Yeah, well, look, another one. Another one there, another one there, all the way down. I mean, we get the message, BCP. We get the message. But that doesn't stop people from actually doing it. Look, it's not working. We are now going to leave Poole Quay. And I said earlier that one day I'll go back to Ham Common Lookout and just show you the plaques that I missed on the two sculptures, the two birds, the metal one and the wooden eagle on top of that stone plinth. I'm going to do that right now. Why not? It's an adventure. And as if by magic, we have returned back to Ham Common Lookout. And with the blue skies behind, with the Purbex, we have a few bird watchers up here today. But we are going to be heading this way. I'm here a bit later today and the ground is definitely thawing out a lot quicker with the sun beaming down. What was frozen yesterday is now a little bit muddy in places, I'm not going to lie. And here, right in front of us, is the first sculpture that we came across yesterday, the metal bird that we are now going to find out exactly what bird it is and who sculpted it. Take a look. So here is that fine specimen of a bird that we saw yesterday with the chain around its head, the centre of its head, and down the breast. And as we go round to the back, we have the padlock, the chain going down the spine, the pliers at the top in the wing, the draper bracket here in the tail. And here is the plaque that I stupidly missed yesterday. And this is in fact a nightjar, a European nightjar. And this was sculpted by a Dorset forge and fabrication. So that has answered that question. So a European nightjar. That's what that was all about. But we still need to find out what this other eagle was. The wooden eagle upon the rock, the stone plinth with the fossils. That's a little bit further down the trail, but hopefully a brisk 5-minute walk. As long as we don't slip in the mud, because like I just said, it's definitely a lot more slipperier than what it was yesterday. But nonetheless, it's all part of the fun, the adventure. Back down the same steps we took yesterday, hoping not to break a leg or an ankle, like I nearly did yesterday, in fact, but you never saw it on camera, with the lovely, flat, calm water over there. And then we follow this round, and we shouldn't be far away from the sculpture at all. Just literally a stone's throw from the base of these steps. And here is the eagle that we saw yesterday. The eagle which I called an osprey eagle, like the one that is perched upon the Ham Common Lookout sign. But I wasn't sure if this was an osprey eagle or whether it was a different kind of eagle. But nonetheless, it was definitely an eagle, because just look at the beak, look at the head. But what we want to know is exactly what this bird is, because I don't think it is an osprey eagle. In fact, it's what we called a white-tailed eagle, sculpted by a Roger Coolbear of Rustic Mania. So there we have it. Not an osprey eagle, but a white-tailed eagle. We eventually got it right in the end. I'm so glad we eventually cleared that one up. How I missed those plaques yesterday, those information boards, I do not know, because we saw the sand lizard and that plaque, but I never even twigged at the fact that there may be one for the other two that we saw. Maybe I should have checked, but like I said yesterday, I was so excited to be back for 2026, filming, vlogging for you guys, that not only did I forget those plaques, I even screwed up the mics with the settings. I was that excited. But hey, that's life. We correct ourselves, we move on, and next time we get it right. So hopefully today I have got it right, and I really hope you will join me in the next adventure, which won't be too long, a few days perhaps, but I really hope you subscribe, give me a like, share, above all comment, let me know that you're there. A human does exist behind the views, and above all, I hope you enjoyed these adventures. So all I've got left to say is take care, Auf Wiedersehen, and goodbye, and I'll see you in the next one.